A teenage boy has a gay awakening or a gender awakening at camp. I discuss this and more on today's episode. Welcome back to Around the Weird, a booktube channel where I talk about all the unusual and out of the ordinary literature that I have found in my travels. Today, I want to talk about a graphic novel that I read because I am back on that graphic novel grind. In today's story is all about gay awakenings camp and rampant teenage homophobia, among many other things. I am referring to Flamer by Mike Curato, which was published in 2020. Pretty interesting cover, as you can see. It's mostly in black and white, but there is use of color throughout this graphic novel. For those who don't know, Mike Curato is a fairly new author, I would say. Also an illustrator. They did the art for Flamer. They've gotten a couple of series, a few illustrations. They did book illustrations, and they have a couple of novels or graphic novels to their name, one of which is Flamer. Pretty fascinating author who is Filipino and also is gay or bisexual. I don't know which one, but I know this because it's sort of this is sort of their own experience or something similar to their experience. And they might be homosexual or bisexual or something like that. Feels relevant because it applies to the story, and they might make it autobiographical or memoir or something like that. Always good to talk about different authors, especially outside of that period of Pride, where I always talk about LGBT poets and whatnot. So without further ado, let's talk about Flamer. I will do a summary, a little bit of analysis, and we will move on from there. So Flamer focuses on a teenage boy named Aidan. He is getting ready to start public high school in the next few weeks, but in the present moment, he is at summer camp. He's very excited and doesn't really want to go to that next period in his life, go to high school, because he is afraid of how he'll be treated. Feels he'll be bullied in some way, and isn't really looking forward to a lot of that. It's revealed that he's good at cooking. He has a pen pal named Violet, and they tell each other secrets and whatnot. He has a strong connections to the Catholic Church. He was a church server, kind of an altar boy in the past, and his Catholicism seems to be very important to him. But he doesn't want to go to Catholic school anymore. He'd rather go to public school. And while at camp, he has interactions with another teenager named Elias, who's a football player in high school. But Aidan is surprised to find that although he's a jock, he's not really mean. And it does seem that they become close, with Aidan sort of wanting to be romantic with Elias. He keeps having dreams about him. Aidan is starting to discover his sexuality, his romantic interest, his gender, all of those sorts of things, as he's trying to understand who he is and discover more of his identity. But he does have some feelings for Elias, which he doesn't make known, and he's afraid to tell other people because they might refer to him using homophobic slurs, which is frequent throughout the story. The teenagers just love using that word against one another. But what doesn't make things easier for Aidan is that he's having weird dreams where Elias rescues him in some capacity and they kiss. Aidan kind of sets himself apart and establishes himself as a bit of a weird individual, and other people make fun of Aidan. He knows there's not really a lot he can do to change who he is, but he still feels bad because he wants to belong. He wants to not be seen as an outsider because he's Asian, and he has these weird feelings towards the same sex, which he isn't really ready to enunciate, and so he just he's just getting increasingly frustrated for the remainder of his time at the camp, and he even gets into a fight with one of the people who keeps referring to him as the F word, the slur, and they get into a fight. Aidan knocks out one of his teeth, but the fight is broken up by a bear that is searching the camp for food. They manage to scare the bear away, but the camp counselor isn't happy that they fought, and the camp counselor notes that they continue fighting, one or both of them will be suspended and expelled from the camp. Things are kind of getting better for Aidan as time goes on, and he has a canoe. He goes canoeing on the lake at night with Elias, and when they get back to their tent, Aidan kisses Elias on the cheek, which Elias does not like. He's kind of freaked out about the whole thing, and Elias goes off to be with his thoughts, and Aidan feels alone at this point, wondering if this is how it's always going to be for him, if he's always going to be viewed as an outsider. And when Elias sort of keeps his distance at a couple points, Aidan decides that he might want to kill himself. He takes a knife and goes to the chapel and writes what appears to be a suicide note. And then he plans to do it, but he's stopped by a fiery being that he's kind of hallucinating that is representative of his soul, which reminds him that he's loved and that he's not alone, and that it's not always going to be like this, that things are definitely going to get better. And Aidan resolves to continue living at that point. He even burns the letter where he said goodbye. And then as the day goes on, he reunites with Elias. They reform their friendship. Things aren't so bad. He gets another letter from Violet, who he thought was ignoring him. And as the story comes to a close, he notes that sometimes you have to smother a fire for it to go out. And even though you think the fire is out, it's still burning somewhere. And he thinks that that's representative of him. And that's where the story ends there. In terms of analysis, there is quite a bit worth talking about with Flamer. One of the main ideas of the story is that of the gay awakening, or I would call it a gender awakening, because I don't quite think this is a gay awakening. It might just be more of like they're coming to terms with their gender, with who they are, with how they express themselves to other people. And it's a bit unclear, but I think it might be one or both of those things. They're all kind of interconnected in a deeper sense anyways. Aidan is struggling to understand who he is in this story. He's trying to figure it out, and the more he does, the more he's unsure of what to do, because all around him things are kind of confusing. He has thoughts of Elias, especially of being romantic with Elias, which he tries to push off, but they always seem to return. And he especially has like gender bent fantasies where he plays the role of the woman in the fantasies. Like he's Eowyn, or not Eowyn, that's the wrong person. He's Galadriel, or he's essentially Arwen from Lord of the Rings, being rescued by I think the guy who Viggo Mortensen plays. I forget the name, but he's having those gender bent fantasies, which is causing a lot of confusion for Aidan, because he has feelings for Elias, but he can't quite vocalize it, because he's unsure how Elias would feel, but also what does that mean for him? What would that say about who he is? And things are even made more difficult by the fact that there's a lot of homophobia at camp. People are just tossing around the F slur, the homophobic slurs, as a means of insulting one another and hurting people, which is very familiar. Growing up in Iowa, I saw that quite a bit. I was one to use it, unfortunately, as well, just as a way of getting at someone's goat. And it's easy to use it because nobody wants to be seen as gay. Especially as teenagers, things are getting better, but there's still that mindset that if you're the outsider, you're gonna get tormented, and nobody really wants that. And I do think another part of the story is Aidan's intersectional identity. Not only is he not only might he be homosexual, but he's also Asian, which he gets tormented for quite a bit. There's a lot of racism directed towards him. And there's also the fact that he's Catholic, which is playing some role in how he expresses his possible gay awakening here. Allow me to read you an interesting quote from this. "I know I'm not gay. Gay boys like other boys. I hate boys. They're mean and scary, and they're always destroying something or saying something dumb, or both. We learned at school how bad homosexuality is. It's a sin. Gay people do bad things, and I'm not a bad person. I try to do good all the time, so I couldn't be gay." And there you really see the sort of way his Catholic identity is intermingling with his gay awakening, where, in religion, so often people are told that being gay or being different is wrong, that you're sinning. And so for him to, kind of be told that, it's really messing with his mind, because, I can't be gay because I've been told that being gay is wrong. And so if I'm gay, then I'm wrong. And, you're gonna try to fight those feelings that you're having on the inside, which might not be very, very successful. And it might just create a sense of repression, which is unfortunate. But all of this is really highlighting how Aidan is on the margins of society, not only with his gay sort of LGBT identity, but also as an Asian individual, as a Filipino, which it would make sense, why you would run so far or try to run from your gay identity, because if you saw how you were treated as an Asian individual, even years ago, then you might not want that double identity thing right there, where you already see people getting made fun of because they're gay. Why would you want more of that thrown your way? It's something that a lot of teenagers strive to avoid. Curato really shows that this feeling out process is a struggle. It's not going to be something that you get immediately. It's going to be very difficult to sort of understand your gender or your sexual identity, trying to figure out who you're attracted to and all of that. It's a feeling out process, and you need a support system to thrive. And to some extent, Aidan has that here through his family a little bit, but also through some of the boys at camp who are willing to talk with him and learn more about him and be there for him in his time of need. But he does wonder if that's going to continue into high school. There's a sense of fear there, which I'll get in a few moments. And then the last thing I'll just to note about this gay awakening is the story is called Flamer, which refers to the fire that Aidan seems to have within him, the fire of Jesus or something like that. But also being called a flamer is another slur for someone who's gay. So just another way that you connect both ideas in the story there. Another major aspect of the story is the fear of the future. Aidan wants to stay in the moment at camp. He doesn't want to go back home because his family is fighting. His mom and dad aren't too close right now. And also there's the fear of what's going to happen at high school. If these feelings that he's already having are going to make him sort of an outsider in high school, if he's going to get bullied, if things are going to be made more difficult. He's unsure about high school. He's unsure about family life. And this is all strongly related to the awakening. He senses that his dad doesn't like him. Will his dad hate him if he finds out that Aidan is gay? And then again, will people make fun of him in high school if they find out that he's gay, or that if he doesn't meet this traditional view of what masculinity is? There's that sense of underlying fear there, which can make it very difficult for you to want to partake in anything and see a future for yourself. That's possibly why Aidan wants to kill himself, is because he doesn't see a way forward that's smooth, that's going to cause anything but heartbreak or sadness for him. And he wonders, will this always happen? Will I always be in this position where I feel like an outsider, where I feel marginalized, and it feels like no one's really on my side? And I think the story in Curato, you see through the soul flame that Aidan talks to, that it's not going to always be like this, that there's going to be people there, but also more than that, he is enough. like Aidan is enough for himself. He doesn't have to rely on the approval of other people to be who he is, which is a very vital message to send out to people, because teenagers are at those points where they see a lot of, messages out there that are contrary to maybe who they are as a person, or media images of what a teenager should be, or what a man should be, or what a woman should be, and to get all those messages is bound to affect your mind in a lot of ways. So I do think it's important for teenagers to hear that message: you are enough, or you are kin enough, if you're a fan of the Barbie movie. It's something that I feel like a lot of young adult writers try to say. Not everyone is necessarily successful, but I do think that Curato manages to nail it down here. Another great thing is I like the good art, which you've seen throughout this video, but I especially like the use of color. It's black and white, as I mentioned before, but there is flashes of like red and orange and whatnot when focusing on fire, or like when a character is angry, or when there's a bear present, which I find funny. And so I like how it makes each panel, or the art in particular, sort of pop out and be pretty memorable overall. And then I do like that Curato's not willing to shy away from the homophobia that teenagers dish out, but also that they see, like the homophobic messages, because a lot of the young boys are constantly saying, gay as a slur, or like using homophobic slurs as a means to torment and tease others. And I feel like that's accurate to what you see in society. Maybe less so today, but it's still kind of there, where again, you want to torment another person, you use a slur, you use what you think is readily available, and what other people have, is like adults have used to kind of torment others. So not really willing to shy away from that. It makes it feel authentic, like he's definitely showing, like, look at all these messages, and maybe even challenging the reader to do something about it, to say something, to not just accept this as something that's seen as normal. The last thing I'll say is I do like Flamer for the most part. The only issue that I really have with it is that it does feel like it ends too cleanly. Aidan plans to kill himself, but he stops short of doing that. Doesn't really engage in any self-harm, not that I wanted him to. And then he reunites with Elias without any real issues there. He gets a letter from Violet that he thought she was ignoring him or something like that. And then he also is like, yeah, my parents are fighting, but I know my father loves me. And it's like, all of those are really good messages, but it also makes this feel like it ends too cleanly, that it's sending the wrong message to teenagers, that everything will be okay and all these threads will be resolved, when sometimes things don't get resolved so easily. Of course, that's not necessarily the story that Curato is trying to tell, but again, I just wanted to note that things are just sort of trying to wipe the slate clean without highlighting how things might actually be. It felt really authentic until maybe that last part, but it's not enough to sink it. It just feels like something worth acknowledging here. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Flamer by Mike Curato. I definitely recommend this comic, this graphic novel. The art is pretty good, and the story is also very good. I feel like it's something that a lot of people can really relate to, not only, if they're gay, but also, everyone was once a teenager experiencing these feelings of being an outsider, or feeling like they weren't enough. I kind of experienced that as a teenager too, and so it really drew me to this particular story. So I definitely recommend that you seek it out. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Would love to have a conversation with you about this. Otherwise, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so that more people can find out about this graphic novel or this author if they don't already know. Also join the Discord if you want to have further conversations about Flamer or any other type of media out there. And until then, I wish you the best of luck in your weird and camp-related travels. Farewell.